or 0 now.
Now to something special we have planned for you, and let's start it like this. I think we know some of the most contentious political debates today turn on empirical science. How is COVID transmitted? Do vaccines work? Is the Earth getting warmer? What does 99% probability mean? These are factual matters that transcend politics, but politics can go to war against facts, a theme explored in this hit new film starring Meryl Streep as a very Trumpian president consumed by PR and operating a corrupt family empire as they face an existential threat requiring a scientific emergency response. How to prevent a planet-killing comet heading towards Earth.
Madam President, this comet is what we call a planet killer.
We just call it a potentially significant event.
Yes.
But it isn't potentially going to happen. It is going to happen.
Exactly, 99.78% to be exact.
Oh, great. Okay, so it's not 100%.
Call it 70% and let's move on. We should get some of our scientists on this, no offense, but when are the midterms?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. So if this breaks before then, we lose Congress, and then there's nothing we can do about it anyway.
It'll be gridlocked.
Timing is it's atrocious. I'm going to make a statement, presidential statement to the American people. But we're not going to tell the press about it ahead of time because that way we'll have the appearance of breaking emergencies. May Jesus Christ bless every single one of you, especially the honorable members of my own party. We will prevail.
You heard him there. The political timing was bad. You hear that? The whole satirical plot here probes how our society would respond to a science-driven wake-up call. And the film's answer is really badly. This movie, Don't Look Up, follows some of the classic tropes of doomsday movies, a killer asteroid or alien invasion that requires your heroic leader in all of our collective action. But then it points out how those fairy tales might very well fail today. If half the public doesn't even believe there is a comet, and if the few experts who have any experience in aerospace comet prevention are overruled by political idiots or insider billionaires. Now, what is the comet? Well, it's an allegory here about science denialism, so you, the viewer, the citizen, can decide. Maybe it's climate change. Maybe it's COVID. Maybe it's the next pandemic that could be more of an existential threat than COVID. Now, are people getting the message? Well, this is a film tackling big themes with serious ideas, but it also has these stars like Streep, Leo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, and we can tell you it has become a blockbuster hit, surging to be the second most watched Netflix film ever. Now, Hollywood often ducks movies with an overt political message. This movie, I think, has one, and that has people thinking, and it is about politics, but it's not just about politics. So to go beyond politics and to get into a film that so many people are talking about, as promised, we turn to acclaimed astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on. Thank you.
Absolutely. We think of you as pretty scientific, pretty empirical. I'm curious how you think the film applies to scientific warnings, how we deal with science, and is it hyperbolic for those who are likening climate change to a planet-killing comet?
It was clearly a documentary based on my life experience interacting with the press, with social media, with the political landscape. Everything there just felt like a dose of reality that scared me, actually. I thought to myself, yes, it's there are exaggerated dimensions of it, but those exaggerations don't come from nowhere. They come from actual conduct by actual people in actual positions of power. And that's the scary part. I'm reminded back some years ago, there was the Science March, all right? Now, why science should have to march, that's a whole other question to be addressed. But during the Science March, one of my favorite posters that I saw someone hold up was every disaster movie begins by someone in charge ignoring the warnings of a scientist. And so this movie allegory, I think, is too soft a word. I mean, it's allegory is usually, well, there's a hidden message. There's nothing hidden about this movie. A comet is going to come
soft.
and take us out, and how are we all going to react?
Too soft. Well, it's like the diplomats say, you're terry cloth. That means you're very soft. And maybe they were too soft on some of the problems. I want to look at another aspect of this. So Neil stays. Let's look at how in the film, even when the warnings arrive, they then have to fight through the muck of our superficial ADD-style discourse weighed down by the selfish consumerism of late-stage capitalism.
Guys, this comet is seriously stressing me out.
Oh, it's coming. People going to dig in. I already got bodies with these shovels on EMAC.
Clean sweep for President Orlando. In his life, never bragging about how hot he is.
$1,000 a pop.
The comet actually contains almost $140 trillion worth of assets. Do you know that Bash has over 40 million data points on you and every decision you have made since 1994, Doctor? I know who you are. My algorithms have determined 8 fundamental consumer profile types.
The president's plan to save Earth and make it so we can all have a home is going to work, right?
Every single man, woman, and child on this planet is going to die.
Did it make you laugh or cry?
Both. I didn't know I had those two emotions simultaneously within me, ready to burst forth. So I thought Leonardo DiCaprio did a great job, just as the frustrated scientist. You know, he has a job to do, and that's understand what is objectively true in the world. And usually, it doesn't matter to the public what we do when we look up at the night sky. Occasionally, when it does, you kind of maybe should pay attention to that. And no one did. And he wasn't media savvy on purpose, just to show that it's not we're not rewarded for that as scientists who work in labs. So I think that the director, Adam McKay, was like right on. The director and writer and producer, he captured all of the tropes of modern life, from the social media to the political mayhem to the cultural people, the tribalism, as people gathered together and then have groupthink and were without regard to what role an objectively true bit of information might have on how they're thinking. And so, yeah, it's all there. And if you compare it to other films, not to get too sort of inside film on you, but there's a film some years ago called Idiocracy, which explored a future where no one valued being smart and nobody was smart. And what world is that? So this is, for me, a modern version of that, except more real, because we've all seen and felt and maybe even participated in the elements of this storytelling and how it all just implodes by the end.
Yeah, you talk about how a quote-unquote tribalism can be fused with willful ignorance, denialism. And that just resonated exactly with right now. A denialism that can put your own adherents in danger. I want to show everyone, Neil, but also everyone, you got to see this part, where it really echoes the COVID era, because they're very clearly MAGA-style crowds literally chanting in the face of this potential comet, "Don't look up," which I got to say is just a horrifically stupid way to avoid even using your own eyes to find out if there's a comet about to kill you and your family and everything you love.
Do you know why they want you to look up? Do you know why? Because they want you to be afraid. They want you to look up because they are looking down at numbers like you. They think they're better than you.
A lot of Hollywood is supporting the Just Look Up movement, but I haven't seen a pin like that.
Yeah, this pin points both up and down.
I think we're all tired of the politics.
There are you, the working class, us, the cool rich, and then them.
What the hell is that?
Neil, I just got to tell you, I really felt that. I cover a lot of things, try to do the job, but that really hit for me, the idea that you could literally tell people, don't look up, don't use your eyes. It didn't feel like a big reach to me.
Yeah, so that was actually my favorite, or the most intriguing part of the entire film for me. How you can gather that many people outdoors at night while the comet, predicted to be there in the sky by the astrophysicists, predicted to eventually hit the Earth, shortly in their future hit the Earth, and people are taking what is objectively true and creating a political message that is not true and getting people to then believe that. It's like, oh my gosh, and it's all so compressed into just a couple of minutes of that clip. And I think we've seen this happen. Oh, and I don't even know if I have a solution for this. I try, I'll offer one. Okay, here it is. In school, we are taught that science is this satchel of facts, and then you learn it, and then you regurgitate it for the final, and then you go home. And then later on, you learn that one of those facts got modified or discarded for some other fact. And you say, well, science doesn't know what it's talking about. It's because you didn't learn science as it should have been taught, as a way of querying nature, as a means of decoding what is or is not true in this world. And there is no enterprise humans have ever conducted that rivals its ability to establish what is objectively true and not. Well, and if you don't see that, we're all in trouble.
Well, what you're talking deep, no surprise. We know you, but you're talking deep. You're talking about the epistemological level of how we know what we know and whether we've been given the tools or been given some of the wrong premises, which then later people say, oh, the CDC updated its guidance. Yeah, it's a process. It's a new virus. No, they don't know what they're talking about. No, that's the process. You're thinking about it that way. Now, I will say before I let you go, we happen to be talking here through the TV media, but I did want to say that while the film deals with all this other stuff we just showed, politics, etc., it has several legitimate critiques of media, TV, print, and online, and how sometimes we all come up short on science stories or putting personality above facts, or, as we'll see in some of this clip, sometimes having a scientific illiteracy.
Unfortunately, there was an immediate backlash that quickly became a meme.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's terrible.
They just think I'm crazy.
Dr. Mindy, on the other hand, had some very high favorables. Vegan Babe wrote, "Meow, me likey hunky starman. Clicks overall were below basic weather and traffic."
Bottom line is you guys told us that science was 100%, and it's not. And now we look like idiots.
We're hearing that there is no comet, or that there is a comet, that it's a good thing, or maybe it's a bad thing. We are so confused.
The reason we know that there is a comet is because we saw it. We saw it with our own eyes using a telescope. And if we can't all agree at the bare minimum that a giant comet the size of Mount Everest hurtling its way towards planet Earth is not a good thing, then what the hell happened to us?
Neil.
You can't, only silence can follow that clip. What else is there to say? Oh, by the way, the science that is infused in those storylines is a friend and colleague of mine, Amy Mainzer, who was retained as advisor to that film. For him to say a comet the size of Mount Everest, that's not a random choice of size. That was the size comet that took out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. So there's a lot of authentically informed commentary when it comes from the mouths of the scientists in this. But I want to add, just before, as you went into that, you were talking about the culpability of perhaps some media. The fact is, when we know something with that level of certainty, it's not up for you to take the 1% or the 1.5% and make that half of your rebuttal. Right? It's not how that should work. You don't say, they're still open, so let's have equal sides give the view. And no, scientists are being authentically But we're being genuine when we say we make a measurement, and measurements have uncertainties, and so you work with that, so you don't say anything is 100%. You say 97%, 98%. But if someone told you, don't cross the street because there's a 97% chance you're going to die, are you going to cross the street? No, you're not. You're going to wait until those odds improve. So here we have scientists putting out these kinds of numbers, and we have people saying, "Oh, well, you don't know at all." And if someone reverses their guidelines, okay, because we've learned more information. That's a feature of science, not a bug.
Yes. So
this is how we need to think about what science. Are you going to judge a scientist? Are you going to judge a scientist by how long they never update their outlook on the state of the world? And the better ones never change their mind? And that's what, no! That's why we make measurements continuously.
This is why we had you on, and we've gone from don't look up to look both ways before you cross the street. If you learn nothing else from Neil today. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you coming back.
Thank you. Always good to be
Absolutely. And I want to mention Neil's latest book, A Brief Welcome to the Universe. You can get that right now. We have a quick break, and when we come back,